From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Frank Fired Up here on the Mixed Up Sports Network, coming to you live here on this Monday. It is the 17th day of April 2017. Hope you all had a wonderful Easter Sunday, a wonderful, safe Easter Sunday as we get going here today on this Monday, which saw the Yankees continue what is now a 7 game winning streak, completing a weekend sweep of the St. Louis Cardinals, who I think are going to be a lot worse than a lot of people realize. The Mets, who blow 3 games in Miami in the 8th inning or beyond, in the 8th or 9th inning. The Rangers falling in overtime in Montreal and then not showing up in Game 3 last night. NBA playoffs have begun, and of course, we can't talk about the NBA in this town without bringing up the New York Knicks and Phil freaking Jackson. But we'll begin with the baseball today. And now, if you take a look at the standings throughout Major League Baseball right now, you're looking at 2 teams sitting atop the American League's Eastern Division, and that is the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. The Boston Red Sox are there as well after their win this afternoon on Patriots Day, 4-3 against Tampa. Baltimore sitting at 8-3, Boston sitting at 8-5, and then you have the Yankees, who are sitting at 8-4, who start a series tonight at home against the Chicago White Sox, who are currently sitting in third place in the Central at 6-5. The Yankees right now are looking a lot better than I think a lot of people would have expected them to look. Now, Didi Gregorius isn't really a big hole to fill, but when you're seeing Gary Sanchez hitting as low as his average as low as it is, when you're seeing Greg Bird honoring Jackie Robinson with his batting average of 0.42, that this is something that you did not expect, especially with those two, the way they were hitting in spring training, which again just goes to reaffirm that spring training means absolutely nothing. And not that this winning streak for the Yankees is not impressive. A 7 game winning streak by any team is impressive. A Yankee team that was probably supposed to be just hovering around 500 this year. A Yankee team that was going to finish between, I would have to say, between 10 games under and at the lowest, and maybe 5 games over at their highest. 500. This is a very good start. And you have the White Sox, who are, again, you have the White Sox, who are 6-6 coming into town tonight. You've had back-to-back fantastic starts from Michael Pineda, which is what you needed. I believe you have Luis Severino going tonight, if I am correct. Oh no, it's Montgomery going tonight. Pardon me. You have Montgomery going tonight for the Yankees. So, I mean, it is a very good start from a team that you probably would not have expected this start from. This was a team that, again, you were expecting to be trotting around 500. And again, we're only 12 games into the season, but still, you're on a 7 game winning streak at the beginning of the year. If you want to be a Yankee hater, which I normally would be, you could sit there and say, well, who'd you play? You played Tampa Bay, who is 6-8 after the Yankee series, and you played St. Louis, who was 3-9 after last night. So they've played no one. You can very easily make that case that, well, they've played no one. But if you're a Yankee fan, you're sitting there going, well, that's what they have to do. Teams that they are supposed to beat, they should beat. And that's exactly what they did over these last two series. Over the 7-game winning streak, they have beaten teams that they should be beating. Tampa Bay, who is more or less going to finish in last place in the division this year, because you know this start from from Toronto, is not going to continue. They are not. They don't have a good look right now, starting at 2-10. But when they get David Price back, when everyone and everything starts to click, that team is not going to stay down there for long. That Toronto is a team that will be fighting for a wild card spot. So much in the same way, you really shouldn't read too much into Toronto's bad start. You really shouldn't read too much into the Yankees' hot start. This is the first time in a very, very long time that the Yankees are going through technically a rebuild, where the predominant stars on your team are youngsters. Whether it be Sanchez, who hasn't played a full year in the majors, whether it be Bird, who has not played a full year in the majors, whether it be Aaron Judge, who again has not played a full year in the majors, Gleyber Torres, who has not yet played a single game in the majors. Those are your predominant stars. That, and you have some guys who have a little bit more experience than that, but still have less than 3, 4, 5 years in the majors. Tanaka's got a heck of a lot of experience outside of the majors. Pineda's been here for what, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years? Severino, I believe, is in his second full year. Then, of course, you have the veterans, Aroldis Chapman, Ellsbury, to try to bring it all together and get you the quality that you need in the places that you need it. And much in the same way that bad start for Toronto is not indicative of the way the team is going to perform over the course of the season, the same can be said for the Yankees. However, it is a very, very good sign that they are one, competitive. Because again, when you're going in with 2, maybe 3 starters, but no more than 3 starters that you know are going to be good day in and day out, a bunch of rookies in the lineup, this is a team that again should be doggy paddling at around 500. It's a very encouraging sign that this team is, again, competitive and is winning games against teams that it should be winning games against. And right now, for the Yankees, that is really all you can ask for. Just beat the teams that you are supposed to beat, and everything will be fine. Now you go to the Mets, who are a team with high expectations, looking, I believe, for the first time in franchise history to make the playoffs 3 consecutive years. Starting at 7-6, and they very well could be 10-3. You win the big 16-inning game in Miami to open up the series. You blow a game in the ninth. You blow a game in the 8th. And then you blow the game in the 9th after not getting a hit until 2 outs in the 8th inning. That's how you end that series. You win the big 16-game marathon. You waste quality starts from Syndergaard, DeGrom, and Harvey. And now, instead of being 10-3, 2 games ahead of Washington right now, who is not as good as, at least at the beginning of the year, doesn't appear to be as good as we thought they were, or you are where you are now, which is 7-6, a half a game behind Miami and Washington. Washington does not appear to be that dominating force that we had expected them to be. Which, if you're a Met fan, is good news. But if you're blowing games in the eighth inning and the ninth inning, you're allowing walk-off doubles to JT Realmuto. You're allowing two-run walk-off home runs in the ninth inning last night, or yesterday afternoon. Saturday night, you give up an eighth inning home run to Yelich, and then very promptly give up a solo home run to Stanton to take the lead. Fernando Salas, thank you for that one. Addison Reed gets the loss last night, blows it in the ninth inning with the home run. Saturday night, it's Salas with the two home runs from Yelich and Stanton. Yelich, who was 0 for in that game to that point and had not been hitting well in the series. Then it's Josh Edgin in the ninth inning on with JL Realmuto on the JT Realmuto in on Friday. Cespedes dropping balls in left field. Now he did hit a couple of bombs in this series. Duda hit a bomb on Friday. But we just talked to the Yankees. We just talked about the Yankees beating teams that they should be beating. Guess what? The Mets need to do the same thing. Miami has been a thorn in the Mets' side for quite some time now. But honestly, once you get past Christian Yelich and once you get past Giancarlo Stanton, and I'll even put Ozuna in that category, there's really no one on that team that really poses a real power threat. Bohr is a standard big old first baseman. You got the stolen base threat from D. Gordon. Other than that, what do you have on that team? You don't have pitching, starting pitching at least. You have a couple of big names. You have a couple of names. You're really going to see what the absence of Jose Fernandez is going to do to this team as far as the rotation. Because you go from pretty much a guaranteed win every fifth day to now you're relying on your other pitchers constantly. Before we move on, we'll get you the lineups for tonight. If this will cooperate with me. Here we go. So again, the Yankees hosting the Red Sox in the White Sox, pardon me, in the Bronx. Derek Holland will go for Chicago. Yankees looking to go to 8 straight games. They throw Jordan Montgomery on the mound. For the White Sox, it'll be Tyler Saldino, Tim Anderson, Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu, Avisal Garcia, Matt Davidson, Yolmer Sanchez, Kevin Smith, Jacob May. Sorry. That'll be the lineup for the White Sox. For the Yankees, it'll be Ellsbury, Hicks, Holiday, Castro, Headley, Judge, Carter, Romine, and then Pete Cosma will be the shortstop. So with the lefty Holland, you don't see Sanchez, you don't see Bird. I'm sure they will be put immediately into the game after Holland comes out. Mets do not play tonight, and probably fortunately for them, they play the Phillies tomorrow. But honestly, for the Mets, they have got to they have got to start working on that bullpen. I'm not talking about moving guys around. I'm not talking about trading people. I'm not talking about getting on this carousel of guys going to Vegas and coming up from Vegas and doing that. They got to sit those relievers down and say, listen, we had a bad series. We have to rebound, and we have to rebound now. So you have just the Yankees tonight. To the NHL, you've seen a couple of fantastic series. You've seen a couple of games already go into overtime, double overtime. The Rangers being one of those series that have gone to an overtime already, and that was game two. The Rangers and the Canadiens, these are two teams that a lot of people would say are very evenly matched. And in game one, they showed it. And before halfway through the third period in game two, they showed it. After about halfway through the third period in game two, the Rangers have been non-existent. Loss at home last night. They play again tomorrow at home. There have been major points of emphasis for the Rangers, players of emphasis, pardon me, for the Rangers that have not played up to potential. Zibanejad really has been one of those players that has not played up to potential, and the reason why they got him. JT Miller hasn't been one of those guys that has played up to his potential. Girardi definitely has. That defense in front of Lundqvist has been testy at times. And when I say testy, I mean they really haven't been there. Their power play has been next to invisible. Their penalty kill has been decent. But beyond that, you really have not seen much out of the Rangers, especially for a team that has been so successful over the regular season. Michael Grabner scoring in the first game. He did exactly what you would expect him to do in a game like that. He's done it all season. Tanner Glass even scored in that first game, but since then it has been a downhill run for the Rangers. Chris Kreider not playing with energy. That was from Alain Vigneault. So the Rangers are definitely going to have to turn it around for tomorrow night, especially at home. And I know they have been a very poor home team. I think it's 6 straight home losses in the playoffs. They have not been a good home team, but if they don't turn it around at home, they are going to have a major issue when they go back to Montreal for Game 5. You really do not, especially to a city like Montreal, you do not want to go down 3-1 and then have to go back to Montreal. To say this game is a must-win is cliche, and it's actually rather obvious. But this game really is a must-win for the Rangers. If they do not win tonight, don't expect them to win the series. Don't expect them to win Tuesday. If they don't win Tuesday, don't expect them to win the series. You can't expect them to win the series. If they win on Thursday, great. If they win on Saturday, maybe you might have a little chance, but they won't win next Monday. Games in the NHL tonight, you have Boston, Ottawa. That series tied 1-1. Washington, Toronto, which is a series that I think is surprising a lot of people. Toronto, again, a team that was the worst team in the NHL last year, is now putting a fight to the two-time reigning defending President's Trophy winners. I mean, really putting the fight to them. That series tied 1-1 going to the ACC. Nashville plays Chicago tonight. They have a chance to really put Chicago's backs against the wall. Nashville leading 2-0 in that series. Chicago has yet to score in that series, which is absolutely massive. Anaheim leading Calgary 2-0 again. They can really put Calgary in a bad spot with a win tonight. If there is any series that is left to be swept, you'd have to assume Columbus is going to come out in Game 4 with something to fight for. Just don't lose at home, I would say, would be the mantra for Columbus going into tomorrow night. But if there is a game or a series that is going to most likely end in a sweep, I would definitely say Anaheim-Calgary would be that series. Montreal and the Rangers again. Montreal leading 2-1 after the overtime win last night. After the 3-1 win last night. Pittsburgh leading Columbus 3-0. Pittsburgh winning on a very, very cheap, very, very soft goal in overtime last night. And then you have Edmonton leading San Jose 2-1. Edmonton, I'll tell you what, they say when the Yankees are winning, it's good for baseball. When Ferrari's winning, which they did on Sunday, it's great for Formula One. When the Lakers are winning or the Celtics are winning, it's great for the NBA. When Edmonton is winning, it is great for the NHL. And when you have two guys like they have, it is going to be very, very difficult to beat that team, and it makes that team very, very, very fun to watch. And to see them actually not only just making the playoffs, but winning a series, but right now currently winning a playoff series as they are. A 1-0 win last night. Cam Talbot looking fantastic. Zach Cassian's got 2 goals this series. Second straight shutout. For Cam Talbot. It looks very, very good for Edmonton. And again, it is very, very good when Edmonton is winning or is successful. It is very, very good for the NHL. To the NBA, I'm gonna save Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony and Kristaps Porzingis and the Knicks for tomorrow. Because honestly, my head has been exploding all weekend about this. And I really want to not say something I shouldn't say. I'm going to take one more day to collect my thoughts properly with that situation before I bring it on air. So with that said, to the NBA playoffs, which I think is going about as predictably as you could have thought it would go. Golden State with a solid win over Portland. Draymond Green has probably one of the best games you will ever see Draymond Green have. What do you have? 20 points, what do you have? 20 points, 12 boards, 9 assists, 5 blocks, something like that. But no one's going to care about that because it wasn't a triple double. So why would anyone care about that? Houston defeats Oklahoma City. Again, you knew that was coming. San Antonio defeats Memphis. Again, you knew that was coming. Chicago actually beat Boston. Can you contribute that maybe to Isaiah Thomas deciding to play last night after what happened on Sunday or Saturday? Probably had something to do with it. Is this going to be the last game of the series that the only game of the series that the Bulls win? Most likely. Washington beats Atlanta. Milwaukee completely stomps on Toronto. And then you have Cleveland beat the Pacers. But the game that I really want to focus on is the buzzer beater in Los Angeles, where Utah takes the win over the LA Clippers. This game, I honestly think that this game, and especially if they lose tomorrow night, this could be the beginning of the end for the Clippers' reign as number one in LA. Why do I think that? Well, it's fairly obvious. This team has been to the playoffs, the last 5 years? And they've had a first round exit in every single one of those years. When you have guys like Chris Paul in his prime, which is what they had, a young and up and coming power forward like Blake Griffin, and a very good center, a very good defensive center, very good close to the rim center like DeAndre Jordan. You flank those two with guys like Jamal Crawford, who has gone from a sixth man to a two. For them, you have the coaching of Doc Rivers, who has won an NBA title in this league as a coach. How do you fail year after ever loving year? If they lose this series, I don't see how Chris Paul would want to stay. And I honestly do not see how Doc Rivers gets to stay. Because if Doc Rivers gets to stay and they make no personnel changes, which is what they have done over these last 3 or 4 years, they have kept pretty much everyone the same. They overpaid for J.J. Redick. One move, great. But their starting five has remained largely intact over these last 4 or 5 years, and where has that gotten them? First round exit after first round exit after first round exit. And now you're playing the Utah Jazz, and you can't beat the Utah Jazz after Gobert goes down with an injury in the first 20 seconds of the game? That is a major problem. If the Clippers go down 2-0 in this series, this is officially the beginning of the end for the Clippers. You cannot go year after year. Granted, you're making the playoffs. You cannot go year after year without winning a playoff round. Making the playoffs in consecutive years the way that they have and exiting in the first round in all of those years is not a good look. Well, we made the playoffs, yeah, but are you winning? You've had 4 or 5 consecutive chances to get out of the first round, and you couldn't. Take a look at a team like the Knicks. Well, they hadn't gotten out of the first round in a long time either. Yeah, well, they hadn't made the playoffs for a long time. The Clippers are making the playoffs consistently and not backing into the playoffs as an 8 seed. They are consistently a 3, 4, or 5 seed, and they can't get out of the first round. So it's not like they're playing San Antonio. It's not like they're getting caught with Golden State in the first round. They're getting Utah. They're getting Memphis. I don't want to call them lollipop teams, but you're not getting caught out of the big 3 or 4 teams in the West. You're getting teams that you should be beating. The magnitude of this, the Clippers constantly making the playoffs and not getting out of the first round, you could equate it to Toronto. They're making the playoffs, but in some years they just cannot get out of their own way. And the Clippers are that way. They cannot get out of their own way. If the Clippers, again, like I said before, if the Clippers cannot win this series, I don't see how Doc Rivers stays. Not that Doc Rivers has done a bad job. We need a coach that can get us into the second freaking round. And I don't see how Chris Paul wants to stay because he's essentially wasting the back end of his prime in LA with a team that cannot get out of the first round. I'm sure he wants to win an NBA title. Can't rely on him to be the number one guy anymore. He's past that. The number one guy on this team has to be Blake Griffin at this point, and when he's averaging 3 points in the fourth quarter of the playoffs, that's not a guy you can rely on. So, could this, in fact, be the beginning of the end for the LA Clippers? It definitely seems that way. We'll run over the scores really quick from this past weekend. Again, yesterday you had the Montreal Canadiens beating the Rangers 3-1. Saturday, Yankees beating the Cardinals 3-2. Sunday they beat the Cardinals as well 9-3. Mets falling in both games 5-4 on Saturday against the Marlins and 4-2 on Sunday against the Marlins. Saturday, the New York Red Bulls defeating DC United 2-0. On Friday, New York City FC defeats the Philadelphia Union by the same score. Again, tonight, you have the Yankees playing the White Sox, opening up that series. The Mets open up a series at home against the Philadelphia Phillies, continuing a stretch with their first 32 games. Are against the division. That opens up tomorrow, and the Canadiens and the Rangers go for game number 4 of that series in New York tomorrow night. So that'll do it for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all tomorrow.